The following presentation is controversial and may be offensive to some audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hi, my name is Josh, and this is a fish. And in just a few minutes, I'm going to show you how this fish will help you get laid. And it'll do it without teaching you cheesy pickup lines that don't work, without letting you spend a dime on dinners and drinks, and without anyone ever noticing you're using his techniques on them. But first, I gotta warn you. I've taught this technique you're about to learn to over 110,000 guys just like you who live in over 30 countries around the world, and it's going to make hot women stare at you and uncontrollably chase you. But to be fair to the other 100,000 plus guys who've shoved money in my pockets to teach them this technique already, I'm only going to be able to leave this video up for 24 hours. So this is literally the only chance you'll get to see this video all the way through. And if you actually think you have something better to do than learn this technique, then you're either gay, not that there's anything wrong with that if you are, or you're so old you piss dust. If you consider yourself an above average or even typical guy, stick around, this is totally for you. And if you watch until the end of the webinar, I'm going to give you the system that is literally step by step and is proven to create sexual intrigue that is so compelling and so powerful that almost any girl you use it on will find their panties around their knees, soaked to the max before she can even say, "My name is." Listen, I've pulled this off so many times, I've lost count. It even works if she thinks you're unattractive. In fact, if you follow my step-by-step method to the letter, it's literally out of her control. She has to respond. Wouldn't that be a secret you'd love to know? Well, this is a fact. All women go through the same exact process every time they decide to sleep with a guy. And trust me, you've never seen anything like this before, so make sure you watch this video to the very end. But first, I'm going to tell you a sex story. Yeah, I know most guys would tell you all about their different media appearances they've done, all the books they've authored, blah, blah. And yeah, I could bore you with that crap. I have a credentialed resume that would make the biggest player you know run home to his mama. But listen, if you're smart, you don't give a damn about that. And I bet you don't. You probably just want the juice, the secret sauce, and I'm going to get to that in just a few seconds, right after my sex story. Deal? Cool. So how did this skinny little loser-looking dude go from zero to the chick whisperer? Did I get rich? Did I memorize line after lame-ass line? Did I put on pheromone cologne? Hell no. The truth is pretty brutal. I was an absolute leper with women until I discovered this system. If you looked up whipped in the dictionary, it'd say, see Josh Pellisier. In fact, if I hadn't hit complete rock bottom, I'd probably still be terrible to this day. You see, several years ago, I was living with my complete ice queen of an ex-girlfriend in North Carolina. She was hot, young, and she knew it. You know, a total Barbie who always gets what she wants. And I thought she was amazing in bed. Now that I've been with a few hundred more women, I wouldn't even rate her a 5. Listen, back then, the old Josh did anything she wanted. She wanted to move to North Carolina. I said, okay, let's go. She wanted to keep in touch with her ex-boyfriend. I told her, it's okay, I understand. She wanted me to pay for the apartment. I didn't want to look like a deadbeat, so I said, I'll work 2 jobs, no problem. I just wanted to make her happy. So one brutally hot day, I come home from a 14-hour shift at the coffee shop I worked at to find her freaking out. She told me that her dad was making a surprise visit, and she never told him that she was dating anyone, and definitely not that she was living with someone. And the worst part, he was showing up that night. So she told me to get all my stuff and leave the house for a couple of days so he wouldn't find out that I lived there with her. And, like the little boy that I was, I left. I got all my stuff, packed it into my little crappy black Honda Accord, and drove out not having any idea where I'd go. I didn't have any friends in town, and I was way too proud to ask some random person if I could stay with them, so I drove around until I found a vacant house that was for sale, and I parked behind it hoping no one would notice me sleeping in my car. It wouldn't have been too bad, really, but I had to do it for 3 days in a row, and on the 3rd day, something happened and I snapped. See, I had to sleep with my windows open because it was way too hot to close them. But the mosquitoes were so bad that I had to use a blanket to keep them off me, so I only slept about 2 hours each night, and I couldn't even lean the driver's seat back because all my stuff was packed in the back seat behind me. So I had to sleep sitting up in the driver's seat, covered in a blanket, in the sweltering heat, behind a vacant house, like a hobo. And then it happened. I was half asleep and I hear, "Freeze, put your hands where I can see them." I freak out, of course. So in a daze, I put my hands out the window and a swarm of police officers jog over to my car with their guns out and aim at my window. Apparently, the neighbor had seen a strange car parked behind the vacant lot and called the police. I guess I would have done the same thing. After they calmed down and realized I wasn't some national threat, they asked me what I was doing there. And that's when I did it. I told them that my girlfriend's dad was in town and he didn't know we were dating, so I had to sleep in my car for a few days. That's when one cop turned off his flashlight, looked at the other cop in complete disbelief, and turned to me and said, "Seriously?" I was tired and I didn't have the energy to explain more, so I just said, "Yeah." I think he was still trying to be professional, so he told me that I needed to go somewhere else, and he told me to try sleeping in the Walmart parking lot. And as he was turning to walk back to his car, I heard him say, "Poor bastard." The rest of the night, I did some serious thinking. I sort of had to because I couldn't go to sleep. Have you ever been so tired that you can't fall asleep? Well, that was me. I just sort of woke up and realized that I was a complete and utter wuss. I was a sorry excuse for a man. If my dad knew how much of a wuss I'd become, he'd be disappointed. So that night, I wrote a note to myself on a piece of notebook paper that said, "I will get this attraction thing handled or I will die trying." I still carry that note around with me to this day. So I grabbed the first thing I knew to look at out of my back seat, my psychology notebook from when I went to college in Florida. I opened randomly and I started reading, and I didn't know if I was delirious from no sleep for 3 days or if something just snapped and my IQ jumped 50 points, but I suddenly noticed a theory that my professor taught me that just went in one ear and out the other. Propinquity. It's a $10 word, which is probably why I never remembered it in the first place. So I read all my notes on this propinquity thing, and I thought, well, screw it. What the hell do I have to lose? I'll try it out tomorrow. So the next morning, after rinsing off with paper towels in the bathroom at a place called Panera Bread, seriously, I went into work and I started using it on the customers. The first time I used it, nothing. The second time, nothing again. But the third time, she smiled, asked me my name, and said she'd like to hang out after I got off work. I thought, holy crap, it actually worked. So that night I hung out with her for an hour or two. No, nothing happened with her because I still didn't know what the hell I was doing, plus I wasn't single yet. And afterwards I went back, broke up with my girlfriend. My car was already packed with my crap anyway, and I spent the whole night looking through my notes to find other techniques I could try out. I did that every day for a week, then 2 weeks, then a month, then 6 months. A year went by and I had read 5 psychology textbooks, 12 dating advice books, 2 etiquette books, and watched over 400 hours of training videos on building rapport, subliminal messaging, seduction, attraction, body language, personality typing. I was a machine. And eventually I began to see patterns, things that allowed me to plug myself into an attraction switchboard. From then on, arousing, attracting, and seducing beautiful women was a piece of delicious cake to me, almost second nature. So I created brand new techniques and tricks that the world had never seen before, and all to help me take advantage of those powerful patterns that I discovered. But what were some of those techniques that I used, and that thousands of guys eventually started using, to get women to uncontrollably flirt, make out, and sleep with me time and time again? The ones I found that worked just about 100% of the time on just about any kind of woman, regardless of her age, hair color, height, or how smoking hot she was. Well, I'd like to teach some of them to you now, if that's alright with you. You might want to get a pen and a piece of paper ready for this part, especially since this video gets taken down in 24 hours. Remember, these techniques will get you results instantly, but I'm just barely scratching the surface here. And pay close attention to the last technique I teach you, because that's when I'm going to reveal the #1 simple, bizarro chick trick that you've never heard of before that got me 90% of my success with women right away, and how thinking like this fish is going to make you better with women than anyone you've ever known. The first technique has to do with the chick's mouth. I know, chick's mouth, you want to put something in it. I get that. But before you run off and do that, let me tell you the secret. Did you know that if you look at a woman's mouth while she's talking to you, that you'll